You should really walk away from Lentor Gardens at this price. Which is something I will review now. Of course, obviously I'm not going to review my position until at least half of this video. Fair? Anyway, we are finally back to the studio after close to being out for like about 2 months. And of course, it is for a new launch review. But coming to think of it, it seems to be quite a while since I have done a new launch review. Now, this goes to show how weak the options were in the first half of the year. For me, I usually do a review if it's a project worth talking about. I will skip when I find that it's something that doesn't sit well with me. So yeah, I think our last review was Vela Bay, which feels quite a while ago. Maybe because I've been traveling so much in the past 1 month, school holidays, that I kind of feel like coming back to Singapore feels like a stopover, but you know what? Back to the reality, back to the studio. And anyway, as far as shooting a video is concerned, somehow I've gotten very, very comfortable shooting videos on the go. It is both easy and difficult. I realized that when I kind of want to just speak my mind, I can't seem to stop. Anyway, I plan to do like originally 20-30 minutes kind of video, and it ends up like landing close to like 30-40 minutes, just like my previous video. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there resonate with that, but hey, you know what? Again, we are back here today, and since it's a review video, we better get serious about it, because today we go to the most oversupplied neighborhood in the past 5 years, Lentor.
Disclaimer, whatever I share does not constitute financial advice. It is solely based on my opinion on what is right or wrong. So please do your own due diligence. If you're liking the content so far, please hit the like and subscribe button, as your simple gesture will help a lot with the YouTube algorithm. If you are interested to find out more about property-related matters, please find all the social media handles I am on, or you can just directly reach out to me on WhatsApp. Separately, I have also set up a Telegram group at the start of the year so that we can have a discussion that we as agents are not allowed to do so online, which is to talk shit. So if you are interested to get into a community that talks about everything under the sun about property, please scan the QR code, or for the boomers out there, I have pasted the link in my description. We're going to close the group invitation in probably a month or 2 times, so head over and I will see you there. Now back to the video.
And it's again Lentor, the 7 plot. I remember when I was younger in poly, most of my friends used to mock me living in Lentor because they always say,
hey Clinton, you live in Lentor, no birds want to go there and lay eggs, so ulu, you want to play mahjong, go your house, don't go your house, so far so ulu.
But that has certainly changed in the past 10 years, and a lot. And of course, just in case you missed my review videos in a while, I will evaluate whether a project is worth your attention by using the QPE framework to walk you right through the thought process, because this is the same thought process I will work with every single of my clients who sits down with me to embark on this journey. Now, if this is new to you, please scan the QR code to be in touch with us. If you're looking for a resale property, which we feel that we are damn good at spotting them, for self-proclaimed, then call us also. Or definitely, if you'd like to visit Lentor Gardens and would like to have a second opinion on property-related matters, feel free to reach out to us also. Okay? So anyway, again, I'm standing from the point of looking at the value proposition that comes with any property. It doesn't take into account the emotional part of a purchase, which can be very important if it's important. Now, some basic information about Lentor Gardens Residences. Plot was acquired at 920 PSF PPR, officially the cheapest land cost in Lentor itself. Kingsford bid for it when the land bids weren't that crazy, about 1 year, 3 months ago. Now, if you work the math backwards, it should get a break-even of like 1894 PSF according to HProp. Now, actually, based on my experience, it's something I don't quite understand. Cost price, usually I track is 70 to 75% of the land cost, but this one is close to 100%. Now, if I compare the previous plot just beside, which is Lentor mentioned, that one set at like 82%. Now, if you look at the matrix here, and this is, as mentioned, a cue for my editor to show you guys the stats, you will see construction costs being higher despite having a lesser unit and a slightly smaller land size at Lentor Gardens. Land financing is a bit lower though, marketing legal fees are somewhat similar. So yeah, the construction cost really is on the rise and it's only the span of 1 year. Then you add like 20-30% profits, you could see it hitting between like 2,272 PSF all the way to like maybe 2,500 per square foot. Now, developers have given us an indicative starting from price of 2,050 PSF, and then and again, based on my experience, I have plenty of PTSD as far as gut price goes for this developer. Anyone shares the same sentiment? Yes? No? Anyway, before we even start, let's get the elephant, or I would say elephants, out of the room, shall we? This is probably the few objections that you are going to bring forward for Lentor Gardens Residences, the 7th plot of development located in a small residential neighborhood supported by a decent mall and an MRT that is on the Thomson Eastern Line. Now, the mall has already been running for about close to 6 months now. I go there actually quite often during weekends where I drop my kids over to my parents. To me, it's an okay mall. It can be better, it can be much worse off. Certainly better if it has a food court, but unfortunately it doesn't. It's a modern mall these days with plenty of like F&B, but of course I do go there and cut my hair every fortnightly. For now, it's still quite quiet. I can easily find tables like kopi and tarts, but of course when it comes to the evening, especially the weekends, then it's a different thing altogether now. So all in all, I think it's better to have a mall than not. Those living in Lentor for the longest time would know that once more development TOBs in the next 1 year, I expect footfall to increase significantly, and then let's see how it goes. So back to it, I will answer your biggest objection before we deep dive into the product itself, which is the quality circle. And what is the number one objection, you may ask? Okay, and it is the one, actually it's the trickiest to navigate around, and that is the oversupply issue. Now, is it a fact? Yes, it is a fact. There's a huge supply in the neighborhood itself, 4,000 odd units to be exact. Lentor Gardens is already the 7th plot as mentioned since the first one at Lentor Modern launched in 2022. Then you have Lentor Hills, you have Hillock, you have Lentoria, Lentor Mansion, Lentor Central, Lentor Gardens, and the 8th plot, which I feel is the last mover in this neighborhood itself, the one that got sold recently at 1,278 PSF PPR. Now, just to give you some context, most of the plots here were sold under 1,000 PSF, with only like Lentor Modern going at like 1,200. I think Lentoria was like 1,100 PSF in the pre-harmonized era where margins and costs are significantly thinner. Now, this last plot at 1,278 PSF PPR means that you should see the break-even hitting close to like 2,400 PSF. That's context for you. So, I mean, huge supply in the area. If you're buying for a longer term own use, since we know oversupply will be a shorter term issue, either you go for the best layout, best development, or best pricing. Best development or not, we will talk about it later. Best layout, we will analyze and mix it up with the potential pricing that we might come to expect. And we will use what the developers have floated out and what we think might be the average price, okay? So I have said this for the longest time. As far as I'm concerned, I feel the word first mover's advantage has been loosely used in different contexts. Okay, some say it's like the first development in an area, which is not wrong, but I personally feel that whether it's first mover or second mover, price kind of determines that. If your price is attractive enough, say for example, Lentor Modern already subsold at like 3-bedroom complex at as high as $2.5 million, and if you can get your hands on Lentor Gardens at potentially close to $2 to $2.1 million, given that's what the first owners at Lentor Modern got their hands at, then is that considered going back to first mover entry level? Potentially, yes. Because technically speaking, the real advantage of being first movers is to buy cheap, then let the whole township grow from there, and with that, ideally, the price continues to rise in an upwards manner. Lentor doesn't have that yet. Now, the key word here is yet, because the government launched all the lands very, very close to one another. So that means on the shorter run, you will have like an immense competition, not only within your own neighbors in the same neighborhood itself, or rather the development, but also surrounding projects. But that competition, I feel, is going to peak this year. Next year, and possibly 2028. But the good news is Lentor Modern has already transacted a healthy amount of transactions since TOP and SSD late last year. Lentor Hills is the next one to test this in the coming months, and then followed by Hillock Green, and at the end of the year, Lentor Mansion will be, I think, 2027, and then Lentor Central in 2028. This is where I have repeatedly mentioned that the flippers will try to exit at the first stop, which is after SS. And then subsequently, if the product proves to be as good as it's supposed to be, then the supply will taper off from there. Your price should like steadily rise if again your product is as good as it promised. Lentor Gardens Residences potentially allows you to avoid that, given your SSD will only be somewhere around like 2030 to about 2031, many years after the peak in competition. And then if you get a price that is like similar to being first mover advantage, I think your downside risk will be much lower than what the market fears it's going to be. So yeah, oversupply issue is real. There's no running away from it. You just got to be sensible enough to understand what you should come to expect. Just managing your expectations. Okay. Moving on to second objection. Last mover. Again, I go to the point of that term first mover advantage. As I mentioned, if your price is right, then you can quickly position yourself back to like that first mover advantage. And given this is the 7th plot, we are really coming to the end of the entire transformation of the Lentor Township. It gets slightly more mature in 2030 or 2031, because the last movers almost definitely will be the 8th plot of land just beside Lentor Modern, which will likely see prices of like minimum 2,600 all the way to like 3,000 odd PSF. Now that one really no room for wiggling away from the fact that it is almost certainly the last and the most expensive. Of course, there might still be 1 or 2 more plots to come, but their plot ratios are like much lower at 1.4, so I don't expect them to come out anytime soon. Who knows? So yes, your price determines whether you are closer to the last mover or the first mover, so let the price decide for you whether it's worthwhile to enter in, or you just like wait for something else better. Which brings me to this objection, which is developers. And actually, I have no issues with Kingsford. Are they the top of my list? Certainly not, but they are definitely better than most. What didn't sit well with me is how they play around with pricing, but that can really be seen as an advantage if you are like already invested with them. If not, the price increase might just turn you off somewhat. I think since Normanton Park days, they have really been doing a good job. Normanton Park does look good apart from like some flaws, but which development don't have flaws, right? Even the big boys have like hit and misses. There's also certain things that I don't wish to comment. If you want more tea, you can always reach out to me privately, but I think overall the impression of Kingsford has slowly been improving, and rightfully so. So there you have it, 3 of the biggest objections out of the way. With that out of the way, let us quickly get into analyzing this with our QPE framework, shall we? So first circle, quality, point number 1, land size facilities. Facade, 499 units sitting on close to 222,000 square feet piece of land. 80% car park lot, similar to other developments in the surrounding itself, full condo facilities. From the artist's impression, it kind of looks like a hybrid between Hillock Green and Lentor Mansion, with the Sky Garden located in the middle. In terms of outlook, I think this probably like ranks second behind Lentor Mansion to me, as far as I'm concerned. It's not too bad actually. What I love about it is really the pool, and the entire setup like gives you this very like tropical resort kind of vibes, feels, which is, if you compare Lentor Mansion, you get really more of like the Guacoland trademark greens. And coming from someone who loves being close to water, I love this, because in fact this has the infinity pool setup that overlooks the drop-off area. Gym overlooking the big pool, function rooms units are either facing the landed properties or the Hillock Park itself. So for this first point, I love it. Very nice, surprisingly. So point number 2, layouts. And again, for those of you who hasn't watched my new launch review in a while, even I myself is feeling a bit rusty right now. I will be looking at the layouts and illustrating it with our estimated price points to give a gauge as to what it means for you as a consumer who has no context of pricing in this Lentor Township. So since the developers have kind of like floated or baited us with a starting price of 2,050 PSF all the way to 2,500 PSF, shall we just give it an average of 2,300 per square foot? Because think that's fair, because anything lower than 2300 PSF would definitely be a plus point. And for comparisons, I would like to use the Lentor mentioned sub-sale units as our main competitor now, and I also insert the range of what all the other developments has sold for at its launch. Okay, so let's have some fun. To start off, there's no 1 bedrooms, good, so we don't need to waste time on that. Also, we don't have any 2-bed, 1-baths here. The smallest unit we have here is the 2-bed, 2-bath unit. All of them are like a dumbbell layouts and a very typical one actually, 646 square feet, with the kitchen being obviously the main difference, an open concept one. I think this will be the least favorable unit unless the price point justifies so. Okay, next up is the 678 square feet, and that is a 2-bedroom premium on paper, but it's really like a 2+ study. Can I sell it as 1 for sure? This study can easily be converted into a store if need be, and the kitchens are all like semi-enclosed. As expected for all dumbbell layouts, of course, there are no window openings anywhere in the kitchen and toilets. Now for this 678 square feet, there's also like other 2 similar setup, which I will flash across here. Then we have like the largest 2-bedroom premium at 689 square feet, but instead of a small study, you get a proper home shelter, which, if I'm not wrong, none of the competitions nearby here has this configuration. Usually 2 bedrooms don't come with store, or not say don't come with store, don't come with bomb shelter. Hence, I think this one might have a stronger take-up rate if the price doesn't deviate too much. So 2,300 per square foot across the 3 unit types, I should see the lowest range starting from like $1.48 million all the way to the one with the home shelter at $1.58 million. A delta of like 100k for either a study or home shelter should be fair. $1.48 to $1.58 million. Again, if the price is lower than 2,300 per square foot, then obviously the range comes down, and definitely for the better. Lentor Modern Subsale has already hit 1.8 to 1.9 for its 732 square feet 2+ flex unit. Now the rest of the Lentor launches were sold between $1.45 million to as high as $1.7 million for the normal 2-bedroom unit. So if we can get the range of like $1.48 to $1.58 million, I think this is a very safe entry level that is absolutely fair for a 2+ study or like a 2+ store or flexi. Not too bad actually, quite close to first movers advantage, or even lower if somehow they push it to like 2,001 to 2,200 per square foot. So who knows? Next up, 872 square feet. This is the only 3 compact in the development that doesn't come with a store or study. In fact, this is exactly that of a 3 compact coming from Normanton Park. As you can see, there's not much difference, right? Heck, even the bedroom 3 doesn't come with a wardrobe. Actually, I don't understand why Kingsford don't want to put in a wardrobe in 1 bedroom, but hey, if you can save on wardrobe per unit, and it's 499 units, that's a total of 500 wardrobes, and that's quite a big number if you come to think of it. This is a conventional 3-bedroom setup, clean, neat, just like that lor. Basically, what you see in every other layouts out there for every other new launch. Just like how I touched in one of our videos in regards to layouts. If you have missed it, then you can always check it out here. Otherwise, but that lot layout. Next one, 936 square feet, and this to me is just about the best one here. Basically, it's like the 872 square feet, except I give you another study that is like a storeroom or that of like a study. Everything else there is about the same, a layout that is normal, got window in all the toilets and kitchen. Then one size bigger is the 969 square feet. Well, this is really a proper 3+ study, but it is what we call a 3-bedroom dumbbell layout. This is good. You got a bomb shelter, you got a study in bedroom 2, which you can remove the wall to like make it a much bigger bedroom, except over in this layout, you don't have a maid's WC. And then you still got like a half decent kind of like dry wet kitchen concept. But as per every dumbbell layout, you get the dumb problems. You got no window in the kitchen, you got no window in the toilets, then your AC latch tucked at the front because you're in the middle, right? When you have the AC latch tucked at the front, it kind of kills the vibe a little bit. So even though they squeeze in as much as they can into this manageable size range, I think there's still a little bit of flaws in this unit type. Then the other 3+ study is almost similar, except like the kitchen is like closer to where the dining is. They are all the same square feet, but other than that, I think it's almost quite similar. Then we have the 3-bedroom premium series of the 1,001 square feet and the 1,000 and 12 square feet, where the difference are mainly in the entrance foyer area. Again, this is as common as it gets. A very safe setup, portrait layout, dry wet kitchen, home shelter, maids, toilet, windows in kitchen and toilets. Like that lor. And this is like 80% of the new launches out there. Nothing out of the ordinary. So yeah, 2,300 per square foot means that you should see the smallest going for like as low as $2 million. Then the slightly larger 3 plus study 936 at like maybe $2.15 million. The 969 square feet 3 plus study dumbbell and maybe $2.2 million, and the 3 premium at close to $2.3 million. Now, if you compare with Lentor Modern 3 compact range of $2.3 million to as high as $2.5 for the 980, 990 square feet, 3-bedroom flex, and $2.6 to $2.8 million for the larger 3-bedroom 1109 square feet. And then the rest of the Lentor neighborhood started their smallest 3-bedroom from $1.8 all the way to $2.3 million, and largest one like from $2.2 all the way to $3 million. With all this price point, I think that the 936 square feet at $2.15 million versus a $2.4 million Lentor Modern seems like a decent deal. But the better ones would be the 3 premium series of 1,000 square feet, 1,012 square feet at $2.3 million versus the upper range of between like $2.7 to $2.8 million. So all these price points at Lentor Gardens doesn't look that bad actually. So yes, again, I think the 1,001 square feet could prove to be the better option overall for own use buyers, if you ask me. Price points is extremely fair. If it's below 2,300 per square foot, all the better. Now, next one is the 4-bedroom compact series of 1,184 square feet. There are like 2 different configurations to this, but as usual, the main difference being in the entrance area. I think people who have feng shui requirements would prefer the C2. Even the door doesn't come straight into the unit itself, those who want more functional space will probably go for the C1. All in all, they are almost identical. Very clean setup. All can put in queen size bed. A master still has a separate walk-in wardrobe. It's like a bigger version of the 3-bedroom premium. Again, this is no different from most 4 compact harmonized layouts these days. So if you use 1,184 multiplied by 2,300 per square foot, lands you at close to about $2.72 million. Now, if Lentor Modern 3 Premium, as I mentioned, already hit between $2.6 to $2.8 million, what is your downside risk at $2.7 million? You think about it all. Of course, all this price range does make Lentor Central last year 4 compact looks cheap. But given Lentor Modern 4 bedrooms super premium at 1,528 square feet, it is not really a like-for-like comparison because those are still the most expensive units in the entire township at $3.5 million. So the rest of the Lentor township has their 4-bedroom smaller ones ranging between 2.6 all the way to $3.2 million. So at $2.7 million, it puts us like closer to the lowest benchmark rather than being at the top. So that for me is enough. Because the largest unit at Lentor Gardens, 1,346 square feet and 1,356 should be a much fairer competition to the one at Lentor Modern. Now, this unit layout is good, bro. We call this like the landscape portrait layout. Wide, long, separate dining to the landscape setup. You have dry kitchen, wet kitchen, home shelter, 3 toilets, not 2 toilets, with one being the junior ensuite. The master has its own walk-in wardrobe, very nice, comfortable space, which is equivalent to olden days like 1,400 square feet. I feel like the like-for-like comparisons on this is the larger ones at Lentor Hills, Lentor Central Residences 1,399 square feet, and the Lentor Modern 4-bedroom, of course. Lentor Hills sold theirs at around $2.9 to $3 million. Lentor Central was between $2.8 to $3.2 million each. And then Lentor Modern, of course, $3.5 million. Now, this at 2,300 per square foot, $3.1 million seems okay. I don't think it has a huge advantage, to be honest, but because price is very normal. But given the additional space here would suit people buying for own use, I think they probably wouldn't care too much about like paying 100 to 200K for additional space. Same thing as when it happened for Lentor Central. Come to think of it, 1,399 square feet 1 year ago does really look cheap at $2.8 million. So all in all, I feel that the layouts were done pretty efficiently, but yet on the other hand, feels like it was a very safe approach overall. They didn't overcomplicate any of the layouts either. But then again, when it's that safe, it's nothing too exciting either. The 1346 square feet looks very good and should see healthy demand coming from buyers looking to live in it for the longer term. But I think that the 2 to 3 bedrooms are also very neat. Size is just about right, which means that the quantum could be in this very affordable range, which we have gone through one by one. The golden question is what price we will get it at. Would it be under 2,300 per square foot or above 2,300 per square foot? If it's below 2,300 per square foot, then that is very close to the likes of like Lentor Gardens Residences. But of course, Lentor has more demand coming from the mature estate hugging this township. Price, my friends, you want to play it right or wrong, price will decide it for you. Okay, back to the third point of quality. Point number 3, location, MRT and amenities. Now this seems to be somewhat further away from the MRT. I think if the side gate to the Hillock Park doesn't get the green light to build, then the walk will easily be 10 to 12 minutes. Developers say that they might provide free shuttle bus. When I hear the word shuttle bus, means that it's quite far. If it does get built, I think the walk might be half, like kind to half, which is like maybe 5-6 minutes. Anyway, Lentor Modern is still where you're gonna get whatever you need. Across the street and around the HDB clusters of like the 600 odd series, you also get some coffee shops and shops, some very old school shops. That's just about it. Last point, which is views. Now on the eastern side, you get the Hillock Park views. On the western side, unfortunately, you get the unblocked landed views, provided you are high enough to clear any potential developments that might block your views. The way the buildings are positioned here kind of confused me a little bit because they can actually try to tilt the buildings more towards like southwest and northeast rather than direct east and west without affecting the views much. But again, I'm not an architect, I'm not a designer, I'm just a property agent trying to play the role of a devil's advocate. I think most of the premium here will be located on the park facing away from the afternoon sun, so the views here are similar to what you're going to get like Lentor mentioned. So for first point of quality, I feel it kind of like exceeded my expectations. The outlook, the facade and the designs are actually quite nice. I actually love the pool setup. Dangerous, but nice. Top 2 for sure in the entire neighborhood, but of course that's always subjective because one man's bean is another man's poison, as always. Layouts are pretty good, as I mentioned. Highly efficient space, not too big, not too small, just about right, which means that it's likely going to hit the very important range which we want to strike it at. 2,300 per square foot doesn't seem too high. Anything below 2,300 PSF is a serious price to really consider, be it for investment or own use, because technically speaking, we are near the end of the current cycle, and come next year, everything is gonna look cheap this year, man, I tell you. Okay, anyway, more on that in a bit. Now moving on to the second circle, which is exit strategy. Point number 1, supply and demand in the neighborhood. As mentioned right at the start, this is the 7th plot out of the 8 so far, and possibly 1 or 2 more in the future. If anyone tells you that there's no oversupply issue, then they're smoking you, and they're not only smoking, they're smoking vape at you, okay? But if you understand the nature of the problem, and when it peaks, then you will know how to position yourself, okay? One miscalculation, then GG, bro. So price is very, very important, as I mentioned repeatedly in this video. Okay, so point number 2, transformation. This is a new township, not a transformation. Whether it's a transformation or a township, just ask yourself this question: who are your target audiences? If not, you get a whole lot of things going on and no locals who forms the bulk purchase these days wants to buy, then how to sell in the future, right? Like, there was one article recently that was floated in my Telegram group chat talking about a huge wellness center coming out of the Marina South area opposite the likes of One Marina Gardens. Some say it will boost value. Then I'm like, that's a very touristy thing. This kind of amenities will attract people to want to stay there, man. I mean, you go there for a night or 2, okay lah, it doesn't make a difference on demand. So again, what is most important is who's your target audience, which brings me to point number 3, target audiences. People coming from up north, HDB upgraders, Canberra, Yishun, Khatib. When you come down, it's a form of upgrade. Then you have people that are staying in around the area, Yio Chu Kang, Ang Mo Kio, a little bit of Bishan. You should have quite a fair bit of upgraders, I feel, but they will have plenty of options. to select from, as I mentioned, in the next 1 to 2 years. Point number 4, schools. Now, at this point of recording, I don't think there's any schools within 1 km, and so I heard. I don't think anyone is really willing to commit to that. Got school, huge plus points. Don't have, I think it's fine, though you might be on a slightly of a losing end. Who knows? Maybe some blocks are within St. Nicholas Girls' School. But I think on the longer run, it won't be that much of an issue because not everybody buys a house for school. So for second circle of exit strategy, we expect the same sort of demand coming for the Lentor township itself. And I expect consumers to have a buffet of variety of options in the next 2 years. But what price you get and your exit horizon should ensure that you don't squeeze in with the crowd, all right? When that happens, and this is potentially one of the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle to complete the entire Lentor township. In conclusion, I think Lentor Gardens is worth your consideration if only and if certain price points are being met. Now the product is good, the location is good, layouts are good, there's really at least quite a fair bit of transactions already happening for Lentor Moderns. Quite healthy. In fact, you got the mall that has already been running for almost half a year. It's just so sad that there's no food court there. Otherwise, it's going to be extremely awesome. If you're getting one for own use and you need to move in soon, you might be tempted to go for the sub-sale ones that are coming up in the next 1 year or so. Lentor Hills, Hillock, Lentor Mansion should TOP in the next 6 to 12 months, I feel. Then by all means go for them, but be prepared to pay for a premium for sure. But if you're looking to move only in the next few years, then this might really represent potentially a first mover advantage, although we are the 7th plot. But if you cannot carry at a certain price, then you are paying close to last mover's advantage. I think if it's for pure investment with no emotions, the safe number would really be under 2,300 PSF. Anything above that, then how to resist the Thompson Reserve, right? You tell me, although the price points are somewhat different, but how to really resist the mother of all new launches. I'll talk about it in another video. This is really for someone who wants to squeeze in a 3-bedroom at about $2 million or 2+ study at $1.5, $1.6 million range, because Thompson Reserve, you're not going to get a price close to this range at all. Because truth be told, this should be the last new launch in the OCR that is part of this cycle. Next year onwards, you wait and see. We'll be getting the new cycle. Based on new benchmarks, I should expect OCRs to hit a starting from price of like 2,500 PSF. So if you can get this at 2,300 PSF or lower, slightly higher than Lentor Gardens Residences, and in a tested and proven location, not too bad, not too bad. But again, if the guide price given to us becomes a smoke screen, then all I have to say is you wait out, because the blockbuster of the decade is coming soon.